Partners of Sleeptalkers or Sleepwalkers, what gems have you to share? We were freshly married and living overseas. My husband hadn't had much sleep the nights before, which usually enhances any sleep talking. It was hot in our room. My husband mumbled something which I didn't quite catch. I asked him to repeat it. He got up, opened the bedroom window and said very pointedly, "Airflow, bitch," then laid back down, completely asleep. Now, my husband has never, not once, ever called me a name or even raised his voice to me, so this is particularly hilarious. Edit, you guys are far too kind with all the awards and upvotes. Thank you so much. Also, this happened before Breaking Bad was a big thing, so maybe my husband is the original Jesse Pinkman? Except without all the meth and mayhem, of course. My boyfriend once blurted out, "You're putting bread in my ears" in his sleep, mumbled something unintelligible and then followed up with "I'm becoming a sandwich." Still makes me laugh whenever I remember. Fantastic sleep songs with lyrics which are utterly bizarre. My two absolute favorites have been "Oh whoa whoa, it's a corner cat," "Obey my rules, and you'll always be a country cowboy," repeated about 5 times and finished with a "yee-ah." I'm the sleep talker. A long while back my fiancée was working a job where she didn't get home until after midnight. She came home one night, and was leaning over the table on my side of the bed. She swears up and down that I looked up at her, smacked her on the top of the head, and when she asked what the hell that I told her I was checking to see if she was a ghost. Now, I do remember having a dream like this, but in my dream my hand did go through her head, proving she was a ghost. Roommate freshman year of college was a sleepwalker/sleeptalker. We were in the freshman dorms, small little room. I woke up one night and saw him sitting straight up on the side of the bed just staring at me, eyes fully open, just talking gibberish about golf. He was going on about Phil Mickelson or some shit. Have to be honest, it was creepy as all hell because he was staring directly into my eyes. Next morning, I told him about it and he just laughed and said, "Sorry, I tend to do that from time to time." I've had funnier experiences than this one, but cannot remember exactly what was said. Most recently, though, my boyfriend scoots over to meet a big spoon/little spoon, and I snuggle in, thinking that's all it was. Then he gets real close to my ear and whispers, "Just so you know, there's something in the closet." Like a cartoon turtle. I did my best not to bust out laughing and just said, "Okay honey." When he woke up, he had no memory of it whatsoever, of course. He got up, went into the kitchen and ate one bite of a mini pecan pie, no fork, just a straight bite, then apparently remembered he hates pecan pie and left it stacked neatly on the little box. Another time he sat up and stared straight ahead at the wall, didn't respond to me asking what was wrong. He stood up, walked into the wall, then stood there like he was contemplating the barrier. He just backed up exactly as he came, sat down and swung back into bed like nothing happened. That was creepy. He started shouting that he couldn't feel his left arm. I pointed out he was pinching his pillow, not his arm. He then freaked out that he had lost his arm. I pointed out his arm was under his pillow. He said okay and started snorting. It took me another hour to get back to sleep. He didn't wake up at all. Edit, Blimey went to bed and this went crazy overnight. Thanks to those who reached out and concerned to check on his health. He participated in a sleep study and it was found to be stress related. Luckily not sleep apnea. Also, he did wake up, just not until morning. Didn't realize I'd phrased it in such a way that people thought he died. Maya likes to tell the story about her and my cousin sharing a hotel room one time. Maya woke up having to pee, and found my cousin sitting up in bed with her arms folded across her abdomen, kind of rocking back and forth and giggling quietly. When Maya asked her what she was doing, my cousin said, "I'm holding a baby and it has an adult smile." I found this story deeply unsettling. My mom sleepwalks sometimes. When she was in the middle of her residency, she came into my room in the middle of the night and sharply asked, "Did you give patient her dose of medication, like I asked you to 15 minutes ago?" I groggily replied, "Who? What?" She just huffed and said, "Well, I guess that answers my question," before turning around and leaving. Without closing the door, of course. She didn't remember a thing about it the next morning. My girlfriend was sleepwalking one night. Her, "Can we get that done this week?" Me, Huh? Her, can we get that done this week? Me, sorry. Her, can we get that done this week please? Me, okay. Her, thanks. I'd be the king of Monaco. My wife said this one night out of nowhere. The funniest part was her tone of voice, proud and assertive, like she was really sure of her claim to the throne. Anyway, the joke's on her, Monaco is a principality. Wow, thanks everyone. I've never had a post or comment get above 10 upvotes before and definitely never had any awards. My brother did that in the middle of the night. He would get up, go into the living room, say some nonsense shit to our parents and go back to bed. It was actually pretty creepy the first times, because he was like, "They're in the walls. They are." Napping with a boyfriend, a loud noise wakes me, but has still out. Me, what was that? Him, either a tree or a magic eraser. Ex-roommate talked in his sleep. Once, he cried out, "No Gandalf." My wife started screaming one night that she was lost in the local grocery store. And that no matter where she went she couldn't find her way out. I asked her has she tried checking out at the cash registers? She then looked at me and said in her most sincere voice, "That's why you are the smartest person I know." And she rolled over and fell back asleep. Not a partner but in military training in school I often took the night shift for guard duty. The amount of sleepwalkers and talkers is way fucking higher than I expected. It is straight creepy when you have to walk down the halls with a covered flashlight listening to big ass grown men mumbling and lashing out in their sleep. What takes the cake though is often sleepwalkers will just kinda stop randomly. So you'll be walking along in the pitch black darkness and suddenly there is just a fucking dude standing there. Eyes generally closed, or worse, open, just kinda listening to the side or leaning against a bedpost or a wall. After I'd suppressed all the swear words I was about to yell out, nothing much to do but kinda prod them along back to their bed. For all the randomness that is being part of the military, I really didn't expect one of my jobs to be gently tucking my fellow soldiers back into their beds. I'm the sleep talker here, got this from my wife the next morning. Me, sits bolt upright they're coming. Everything's ready. Wife, sleepily huh? Me, they're coming. Everything's ready. Wife, they're coming? Me, Wife, but everything's ready? Me, yes. Wife, sounds like we're okay then. Me, comically flops back down and instantly goes back to sleep. My wife was mumbling a lot and suddenly shouted donkey kick, as she kicked me in my shin, so that was fun. Mama one time, my ex was asleep and started to snore progressively loud. He startled himself half awake, and he says out loud, to himself, "Shut up, I'm sleeping." Oh, I snorted my drink through my nose. When I was a child about 5 years old, I was sleeping in my parents' bed for some reason, probably a storm. Mom was awake, Dad and I were asleep. Suddenly my father and I have this cross-sleep conversation while my mom lays between us, quietly freaked out. "Dad, you better not take my toys." I mutter angrily. "Okay, I won't," my father responds. "Don't even touch them." Okay. Not particularly scintillating conversation, but notable for the fact that we're both asleep and still responding to each other. It was like making Alexa and Siri talk to each other lol. My grandfather was a hard sleep talker. My grandmother has a funny story. One day my grandfather while sleeping was saying, "Do I punch this asshole?" My grandmother replayed, "Yeah, punch him," then my grandfather in his sleep punched her. "Heck yes! Please take a seat." My wife was an avid sleep talked for a long time and her midnight announcements range from simple single words to elaborate speeches. The ones that really stand out to me are waking up in the middle of the night to her suddenly sitting violently up in bed, throwing back the covers, and screaming, "Sir Angela! That will make you very awake, very quickly." Whispering my name repeatedly which woke me up so she could share in a hushed, cautious voice, "There's an alligator in here." When I expressed my concern, playing along, she told me, still whispering, that, "It's okay. It has been here before." But my all-time favorite was when, from her perspective as she later explained, she was dreaming that I was playfully sneaking up on her and she saw me and was calling me on it. From my perspective, my wife sat up in the middle of the night, starting into the darkest corner of the room and said repeatedly in a soft sing-song voice, "I see you ooh ooh." My flipping blood froze. TLDR, my wife is terrifying. My GF does a bit of sleep talking. I mentioned a sheep character from Animal Crossing, Dom, and she sounded like she was about to cry saying he doesn't have hands. Which, to be fair, he doesn't. This actually happened last night. My fiancé started talking to me like we had never met before, and after a minute I realized that she was dreaming about our first date. It was really wholesome and I was surprised at how much detail she remembers.